My name is Jeff Sypolt. I'm the Chief of Occupational Safety and Health for the Department of Health and Human Services. And this is Tom Kreitzer. He is one of the safety officers who works in my office. So we're going to do a little show and tell today.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do, Tom, is I'm going to pull something out of this bag, and Tom's going to tell us about what that object is, and we're going to talk about the safety of that particular object. Here's your first one. What do I got?
Well, it looks like a fan with a heating element.
So that would be
I think it's a space heater.
It's a space heater.
Oh.
So what's wrong with the space heater, Tom? I'll try to make it obvious.
Oh, the plug. There's only 2 prongs.
2 prongs.
Yeah.
The deal with 2 prongs. OSHA tells us that in a commercial or industrial environment, which this is, that we must have at least 3 prongs. We have to have a grounded plug here. We do that because at work, you're with everybody else, and so we have to be even safer than we would be at home. You might be able to get away with this at home, but at work, it has to be a 3-prong plug, grounded. What else is wrong with it?
Well, Jeff, I don't see any sort of mechanism to stop it from starting a fire. I can't remember what the name of it is, though.
Well, there's a thing called a tip-over switch. This one does not have one. So if this device were to fall over onto the carpet, it would continue to melt the carpet and catch the carpet on fire. So certainly we don't want this device in our workspace. Anything else wrong with it?
I'm going to go ahead and guess that we probably shouldn't have these.
Space heaters. 41 CFR 102-74.190. I always apologize for my ability to quote that, but I quote it all the time. It's the regulation that says space heaters are prohibited in federal workspace, unless they're approved by the federal building's manager, and he only approves them for 2 reasons. Reason number 1, if the building heating system fails. If it fails, we will be issuing you a space heater if we decide to keep you in the building. 2, if you have a medical reasonable accommodation need. And if that's the issue, then you have to start with EEO. Once EEO approves your need for heat, they'll call in a safety officer, myself or Tom, and we'll determine if space heat is what you need. It might be something else. We might find that you wearing a sweater or a blanket or something like that will solve your problem, or adjusting the heating ventilation system in your area. If space heat is determined as the best way to get you the additional heat you need, then we'll bring in engineering and make sure that this will not overload the circuits in your space. We may have to add a new dedicated circuit for the space heater. These things are 1,500 watts, pull 12.6 amps, and we typically only have 15 to 20 amp circuit breakers. So you can see how this pulls a lot of power. So very good on that one, Tom.
Thank you.
I'll give you a passing grade.
Okay.
Next thing, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
What do I have?
That looks like an old extension cord or something.
It is, in fact, an old extension cord and in disrepair, as you can see. These devices can only be repaired by a licensed electrician. And if a licensed electrician repaired this one, I think I'll be taking that license with me. But I cut the plug off of this because it was that dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
It is a 3-prong extension cord, but it's just falling apart. We don't like the use of extension cords. If you're going to use them, you have to use them temporarily. Here today, they have this projector set up over there, and so there's an extension cord that runs to that to run the extension cord. But when the projector goes away, so does the extension cord. If you take an extension cord, plug it in, wrap it around the boxes, up and over the desk supports, and then behind the filing cabinet and up to the lamp, that's a permanent installation, and we don't permit those. Here's an example of the traditional extension cord that we find in a lot of people's offices. Anything wrong with this one?
Well, I don't know, but I just used those for my holiday lights this weekend.
That's a great use for these because they don't demand a lot of power.
Yeah.
However, again, only 2 prongs, not 3 prongs. It does have this cool 90-degree angle, which allows you to plug things in so that furniture can be pushed up against it. If it was the other way around, furniture starts to bend the cord, and then eventually it shorts out there and we have a fire. So we want to avoid those. Here's a heavy-duty version.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of this? This one's made of metal.
Well, it looks like I could have made that in my basement, Jeff.
It's a very good point. This is homemade. Every piece of equipment we need to use here has to be commercially made, and it has to carry the UL label in its configuration. This one was made at home, and its manufacturer says, please do not remove from, it's someone's name, so we're not going to say that out loud.
No, we shouldn't do that.
Okay, well, what happens when these go bad? Here's an example of one that did go bad. Found this one in a lady's office, and she said, don't touch that. And I said, why? She said, because if you touch it, it blows the circuit. So I took it, blew the circuit, and now it's mine. So, Tom, what's this right here?
Well, I would call that a power strip.
Very good.
Yeah.
A power strip or surge suppressor, or as OSHA likes to call it, a remote power tap. That's what they call these things. There's that 90-degree plug, 3 prongs. We love all those things. Anything wrong with this one, though?
Well, I don't see any sort of something to stop the power, like a fuse, maybe.
Or a circuit breaker.
Or a circuit breaker.
This one has an on-off switch, and it says reset on it, but really that's just on and off. This one doesn't have a circuit breaker. This is the $9.99 version of a power strip. Not our favorite variety. This is not what we're looking for, but I have an example of what we really like in here. This one is a power strip with its own independent circuit breaker and switch. So it is not just a power strip, but it's also a surge suppressor. And if we get a spike, it pops that circuit and we're able to reset it locally. That's what these things are all about. Now let me show you how to use these. So I'm going to plug this one in. It won't reach. So how about I do this? I'll just plug this one in here, and now this will certainly reach over to where I want to go. Is this okay?
Well, you know, you might find this in somebody's house, Jeff, but it's actually not okay in the federal workspace.
Why?
Well, I think I could plug 6 things into this.
And
maybe another 5 into that.
So I'd have 11 things coming out of one outlet? That's not a real great idea, right? So we want to avoid the overload. We don't want to overload our surge suppressors. So let's just use one, and let's talk a little bit about what we can plug into this. What can I plug into a surge suppressor? Can I plug my space heater in here?
No.
How about my toaster oven?
No, we cannot.
My toaster?
No, we cannot.
My coffee pot?
No, we cannot.
My microwave?
No, we cannot.
Refrigerator?
No.
Panini sandwich maker?
I don't think so.
Blender?
No.
No?
Okay.
So what can I plug in?
How about a laptop?
I can plug in my computer equipment.
Yeah.
Laptop, monitor, printer, those kind of things can get plugged in here. There's also, according to the regulation, I can plug hi-fis in here. Does anyone know what a hi-fi is? Anybody out there in TV world? But that's a wonderful surge suppressor, isn't it? What would I plug that into? I mean, it would be hanging off the side of the wall. So I opened it up, and when I opened it up, it doesn't have a fuse. It has a piece of wire running where the fuse should actually be. So this one could never be reset if it popped, or if it did pop, it'd probably catch on fire first. If you buy cheap, the point is, if you buy cheap, this is what you're getting, a fire trap. We don't want to buy cheap, we want to buy the right surge suppressor for the job. If that means I need to move power 20 feet away, I need to get a surge suppressor with a 20-foot cord. That means if I need to only have power 6 feet away, get one with a 6-foot cord. You don't need to create an octopus under someone's desk either. But we also don't buy cheap. And these things don't last forever. They only last for a couple of spikes. If we have 3 or 4 power outages in the next year or two, you probably need to think about replacing them because your equipment is no longer being protected by them. Last thing I have in here is a hat, which I'll let Tom wear since he works for me, and a brochure. Tell us about the OEP.
Yeah. So what Jeff has done to this point is he's kind of talked about ways we can stop some sort of fire or some sort of an emergency from happening. And we try to stop these things as soon as we can. But what happens when an emergency happens at the building? Well, if you've been in a federal workspace before, and even a lot of the, he can't hear me, but a lot of the other businesses that are out there started developing what's called an Occupant Emergency Planner, OEP. Everyone in this room should have a brochure, and we're going to use this to kind of talk about what you should be doing in the event of an emergency. Jeff? Jeff, do you know how to spell the word mnemonic?
Huh?
Mnemonic.
Huh?
Huh? Okay, he can't hear me. Mnemonic. It's a kind of a nice little memory tool. We use that to kind of remember how to do some certain steps. For fire evacuations, if you open up to your nice little middle page here, it's the word alarm, A-L-A-R-M. The first A stands for alert. We have to alert everyone to the fact that there's an emergency. So, you know, with Mr. Sypolt over here, he likes to listen to Barry Manilow a lot in the office.
Who?
Jeff, there's an emergency in the building.
Okay.
Yeah,
really?
We need to go to our assembly area. So, see, somebody might be listening to music because they like to listen to Barry Manilow or stop the clicking and clacking from their neighbor's typewriter. I know you do.
Okay.
So these are things we need to keep in mind. You need to make sure that you're watching out for your neighbors. Make sure that they understand that there's an emergency going on. So that's what A stands for, alert. The next is L. We leave the building in the most appropriate way, the most direct way possible. So that means if I'm in my office, sure, I can grab my cell phone, my keys, my wallet, whatever I might have with me that would be good to have with me when I leave the building.
Have the things that you might need to actually go home if we didn't allow you back in the building.
So we covered A and we covered L. The next is another A. That means assemble. Jeff, what does that mean?
It means we're going to go someplace and actually get together, and someone's going to make sure we're all there. So we're going to assemble and do accountability.
Well, why is that important?
Well, when the fire department rolls up, the first question they ask is everyone out of the building? We need to be able to give them an answer. And if we tell them that there are so many people left on the 6th floor, that's where they're going to send their rescue teams to go work on getting those people out of the building.
So, Jeff, where is the assembly area for my building?
For the Humphrey building, the assembly area is actually on Maryland Avenue. But each building has its own separate assembly area, so you need to learn that when you get to your place of employment. After you get accounted for, we can release the employees to management, and management can actually make some decisions, whether or not they're going to have their employees come back at a later time, or go home and telework, or something else along those lines.
All right, so we've covered A, we covered L, we covered A again. The next is R. We remain calm. We walk. We never run. Well, okay, there's a couple. 2 times?
2 reasons to run.
2 reasons. Number 1 is if you get the 59-minute rule.
If you're a federal employee, you know what that means.
Yep. And 2, if you see Jeff or I running, that's probably a good time to start running as well.
Because I don't run.
Yeah. So again, but the idea is we don't want people to panic. When people panic, that's when injuries happen. The last is M. It's very simple. We manage the process from beginning to end. Well, how do we do that, Jeff?
Well, we have an OEO, an Occupant Emergency Organization. It's their job to manage. And in their absence, managers and supervisors step up and fill their roles.
In your duty station, when you get there, they could have vests, they could have little armbands, whatever the sort of identifiable marker is. You basically know that they're an authority in the emergency situation. You can look for them or look to them for guidance.